Hi guys, Jim here again with another Sudoku video. Today we will be taking on a miracle Sudoku, which if you've seen my other ones is one of my favourite variants. Again, we'll be going through the puzzles curated by the Cracking the Cryptic team. Worth checking them out if you're interested in this stuff at all. They have a YouTube channel where they film themselves solving tough puzzles every day. They also have curated these apps. Right, so they've either prepared or compiled the puzzles from great setters, put them in one place, and yeah, it's just terrific. So go check them out. You can support them by getting the apps. If you want to play these puzzles yourself, I strongly recommend it. You know, they are very tough, but they're all handcrafted, and they you know, have a very nice logical solving path. They've got hints. Which are kind of handwritten to sort of like guide you along the way. So yeah, terrific. Really enjoy it. And I'd say miracles are some of my favourite types of variant. Also, I hope you like the new camera angle if you are used to the previous ones. Just mixing it up. Why not? Right, let's crack on, shall we? Excuse the pun. Okay, so if I can find my cursor. Right, thank you very much. So as before, we'll be going in difficulty order. And this is a non-consecutive sandwich Sudoku. So this combines two different variants. And in fact, here we see the rules themselves. Welcome to non-consecutive sandwich Sudoku. In non-consecutive sandwich Sudoku, every row, column, and box must have all the numbers from 1 to 9 exactly once. So that's just regular Sudoku rules, no surprise there. In addition, two directly adjacent cells cannot contain consecutive numbers. Consecutive numbers are just those next to each other as you count, so 2 and 3 are consecutive, 6 and 7, but also 5 and 4 is you know 4 and 5, and therefore 5 and 4 it's the same thing. So you've got to think up and down. So they can't be next to each other, which is interesting. Which is an interesting bit of logic. And the numbers outside each row and column correspond to the sum of the numbers between 1 and 9 in that row or column. Good luck. So sandwich Sudoku, which is its own variant, has these numbers outside of the grid. And so what that's saying is, obviously in this column somewhere, there are the digits 1 and 9 because they're all there. In this column's case, the digits 1 and 9 have a number of digits between them, which add up to 30. And that's interesting because that's quite a big number, right? So if you think about the numbers 1 through 9 and add them all up, you get 45. If you take away 1 and 9 from that sum, you get 35. So the maximum one of these clues could be is 35. So 30 is actually quite close to the maximum. And 5 is quite low, right? So 5, if you think about 5 being made up of the digits 1 through 9, you can either make it through a 1 and a 4 or a 2 and a 3. But in this case, you can't use 1 and 4 because the 1 and 9 are outside of that sum. So they're the bread, if you like. So the filling of the sandwich in this case must be a 2 and a 3. But again, we don't know the order on any of those sorts of things. Or a 5. Or a 5 by itself. And the interesting thing here, so this has just occurred to me as I'm saying it. This clue is really powerful because we're not just playing a sandwich Sudoku. So in a sandwich Sudoku, you could have a 5, 1, 5, 9, or you could have 2 and 3, 1, 2, 3, 9. In this puzzle, 2 and 3 are not allowed to be next to each other. So you cannot have 2 and 3 as a valid solve. And so it in fact must just be the 5. So that's an interesting bit of logic. So I know that in this column, we have a 159 or a 951 triple somewhere. I don't know anything other than that. So that's quite interesting. This software is actually really nice as well. It lets you click on the cell and it gives you the combinations that are available to you in sandwich Sudoku. So as I said, it could be a 5 or a 2 and a 3. In this case, it can't be a 2 and a 3 because of the non-consecutive constraint. Anyway, right, so those are the rules, etc., etc., and the explanation of what they actually mean. Let's get on with it. Now, the first thing you typically do in a sandwich Sudoku is you try and find the 1s and 9s. So you're not too worried about anything else. You can see there's not a lot of stuff on the grid for a starter. So you try and find the 1s and the 9s. And here we're given a 9 and a 1 straight up, so that's useful. So what we're saying in this column, we know that between the 1 and the 9 we have 14, which can be made up of either 2 cells, 3 cells, or 4 cells. That's actually not that useful. What you can do is cross them out. The cells you know cannot be a 1 or a 9, you can cross out. And in fact, we're quite lucky here because we know there's a 1 in this column and there's a 9 in this box. So none of these cells can be a 1 or a 9 anyway. And what that does, what that tells us, is that in this column, we know that the 9 is here. It's in one of these 2 cells. We don't know which one, but we know it's here. And what that does is it also limits the potential clues here. It can't be a 2, 3, 4, or 5, because even though that adds up to 14, if you went 2, 3, 4, 5, you'd then have to put a 9 there, and it's ruled out of this box. So it's not a 2, 3, 4, 5, but it could still be any of these combinations here. So. But it's a start. It's a start. Okay, and then the 9 we can do similar with, right? And actually 29 is a really powerful clue because it's a very big number. And it can only be made up in 2 ways, either with 5 digits, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 6 digits, 2 through to 8. Now, in this case, we know we start here, so it's at least 5 digits that are required to make the sandwich. So we know none of these could be a 1. So we can rule it out, but we can put a 1 in one of these 2. So one of these 2 cells is definitely a 1. I don't think we can do much more than that to start with. Well, actually, what this does here, that's interesting. So this rules out 1s and 9 in this section here, because we now know that this is in 195 some order. We can't put a 1 or a 9 here because then you'd have to couple it with a 1 or a 9 there. So actually, that cannot be a 1 or a 9. That could be, because then it would go 5 and then it would go there. But I know that that one cannot be. I feel like we haven't made much progress. Right, let's have another look at this 14 clue. So we know it can't include an 8 because there's an 8 in... okay, well then that's immediately very helpful, right? Because there's an 8 in the column already, that rules out that 6, 8 as an option, and it rules this one out. So importantly, it can now only be 3 digits. So we know it must be these 3, and therefore that is a 9. So that's useful. We can cross that. We don't know which 3 digits it is, 3, 5, 6, 3, 4, 7, or 2, 5, 7. Now, this is where it starts getting interesting with the non-consecutive constraint. 3, 5, 6, it can be 3, 5, 6, but it would have to be, you'd have to put the 3 in between the 5 and the 6. So you have 5 and 6 and a 3, something like that, because the 5 and 6 aren't allowed to go next to each other. So you get some interesting logic there, but that hasn't ruled anything out for us just yet. But let's have a look at this 15 page. Obviously these can't be a 1 because you couldn't put a 1 there or there. Can't put a 1 there because then that would have to add up to 15 in one cell. So these can be crossed out. And then 15 has to be a minimum of 7, 8, but it can't be 7 and 8 because they're consecutive. So there you go. So that's an interesting one. So it cannot be 7 and 8. So the minimum it can be is 3 cells. So we know that there can't be a 1 there. There could unfortunately be a 1 in any of these 3, but that still gives us something to work with, doesn't it? So let's have a look at this 30. I was chatting about this 30 before, wasn't I? So it's interesting. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's all the numbers next to each other. But that could work. Because you think, oh, the non-consecutive constraint there would be very powerful. Kind of, but you could do something like 4, 6, 8, 5, 7, or something like that, and it would actually work. So there are ways, annoyingly. If it's only 3 digits, you can get that situation where you know one of them has to be in the middle. In fact, no, sorry, if it's 3 consecutive digits, it doesn't work. 2, 3, and 4, you cannot do that without having either the 2 next to the 3 or the 3 next to the 4. There's just no way. So you can't have 3 consecutive digits. Obviously, you can't have 2, and you can't have 3. And then 4 and above get a bit complicated. Right, so what are we saying? So we know that there are at least 5 cells in the sandwich, right? So if the 1 goes there, if the 1 and the 9 goes there, then I know that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least these ones would be used. And then the important thing is, if I put the 1 or the 9 here, which is the other extreme, at least these 3 would be used. So whichever one of those I do, those are the furthest possible things apart. Those cannot be a 1 and a 9, so we can definitely get rid of those. And that limits this a little bit, doesn't it? Because now, yes, I don't know why I left this as I did. This here, yeah, this is now resolved, right? Well, it's not resolved, but I know then, so it can either be a 3-cell sandwich, because the 1 could go there, or it could be a 5-cell sandwich, because the 1 could go there, but there's no 5-cell combination that would give you 15. So in fact, the 1 is there, and this is a 3-cell combination. And it's not 4, 5, 6. You cannot put 4, 5, 6 next to each other in a non-consecutive Sudoku. It just doesn't work. You could go 4, 6, 5, 6 and the 5 next to each other. No, it doesn't work. So it can't be that one. So it's still one of 4 things. So it's not that helpful, but I, you know, at least I can do that. Now we've got a 13 to work with. So 13 must be at least 2, but is at most 3, right? So the interesting thing here, there, is to say that can never be a 9 because you cannot have 4 cells between the 1 and the 9. So that's not a 9, but it could be 9 could be either of these, and that would be okay. Although actually, sorry, let me have a quick look here. Yes, so it can't be 6 or 7 because it's next to each other, and it can't have an 8 in it because there's already an 8 in the column. So actually, this is not a 5 and 8, and is in fact a 3-cell clue. I can't have that 8. Ooh, I can't have a 4 either. Oh, in fact, it is the clue 2, 5, 6. So look at that. So it's a 3-cell clue, which is 2, 5, 6. So that's the 9. And then what I'm going to do here, instead of putting crosses, I'm actually going to put 2, 5, 6, like that. And then I'm going to grey that clue out because we've used it, and therefore we know that we don't need to look at this clue again. This 13 has done its duty. In fact, I might as well put in what these are as well. Why not? I'm missing from this row now 5 and 7. Okay, cool. Okay. Well, we might as well carry on with this logic. So 5 cannot be next to 4 because it's non-consecutive. So that is in fact 7 and 5 in that. Excuse me. I've messed that up. I've significantly messed that up. It's not 7 and 5 that are missing because there's a 5 here. Apologies for the last 20 seconds of pure unadulterated drivel. What is missing from this cells is 3 and 7. And thankfully, the logic actually still holds. So 3 cannot be next to 4. So what I said before, in fact, that is right. That must be a 7, and then that must be the 3. And I apologise for my tomfoolery. Right, that cannot be a 2 because there's a 2 in that box, and the 2 cannot be next to the 1 because of the non-consecutive. So actually, we know that is the 2, and then we have this 5, 6 pair, which we can't yet resolve. But we did some good work. Right, we know a 9 is here because we need to put 1 and 9 in the box. And we've already done the 1, and we've ruled these 3 out. In some way, we've ruled these 3 out. I remember what was to do with that. But yeah, so we know that there must be a 9 here. Is that helpful? There must be a 7 in this clue. Yeah, I already knew that. In fact, there must be an 8 as well. But there can't be a 6. Hang on. Does that help? That does help. Yes, perfect. So there can't be a 6. That was a given 6. I should have been able to do this already. So this must be this 6-cell clue, and in fact the 1 must be 7 cells away from the 9 in that position. So that cannot be a 1 or a 9, so we can cross that out. In fact, we've used this clue basically. I'm not going to pencil mark 2, 3 thingy, but we know what it cannot contain. So I'm happy to call that one done. Still a 9 in here somewhere, which we don't know. We don't know where these clues start. This row might be quite constrained because now we know, looking here, there isn't a 1 or a 9 here, so we've actually only got 6 cells to play with. Can we do anything useful? Not really. That can't be a 6 and a 7. Oh, and it can't have an 8 in it as well. Ah, so it's a 3-cell sandwich. Can't have an 8 because of the 8 in the row. Oh, and it can't have a 2. Sorry. Okay. Well, as it happens, this is a 3, 4, 6 sandwich. But I don't know where it starts and ends. Well, I do know that it straddles. So one half of the sandwich starts here, one half ends here. So there's definitely a 9 here because you need to start your sandwich with a 9, and there's already a 1 in the box. So there's definitely a 9 there, and there's definitely a 1 here. But the question is, how far over is it? So if this was the 9, the sandwich would go 1, 2, 3, and that would be the 1. If this was the 9, that would be the 1. So there's a 1 in one of those two, and that cannot be. So that's, I mean, it's not terribly helpful, but it's not helpful. $20 is at least 3. So I think that rules out a 1 and a 9 here, doesn't it? Oh, no, it doesn't. No, sorry. If I put a 9 here, the 1 could go there for the sandwich. No, sorry. And 5, 7, 8 is allowed. You could go 7, 5, 8 would be an allowed sort of combo, if you like. Gosh. Okay. What about this 14? I haven't done anything with this 14, have I? Is that a given 9 and I didn't look at his column? That's terrible. Okay, so 14. It cannot extend upwards because you'd have to put a 1 there and a 14 there. That doesn't work. And then it must be at least 2 cells long, which it can be. It's allowed to be a 6, 8, unfortunately. So, yeah, it's not a very helpful clue, because it could go here, here, or here. Ah, no, I tell a lie. Look, we know it's a 1 that needs to pair up with this 9, and the 1 is in use here. So actually, yeah, you can't put a 1 or a 9 here, so it must, in fact, be this one, which is lovely, because then that becomes a 1, and these two become a 6, 8. Sorry, 5. Yeah, and so I'm done with that clue. Done with it instantly. Yeah, lovely. And then these cannot be a 1 or a 9. They get crossed off. This 13 must be at least 2. Can't be 6 and 7 because it'd be consecutive. So I can rule out that. I think I can rule this out as well. Yes, because there's no way you can put 13 across 6 cells. So that's not a 9, which does make that actually a 9. So that's nice. That's a cross. So this tells me where the 20 cage starts, doesn't it? In fact, no, just while I'm here. So there's a 9 there. It cannot contain a 2. Yeah, let's just do that. Okay. So this 20 cage starts here, in fact. And it must be at least 3 cells, so that's a cross. Ah, in fact, one must be here, so it must be 2, it must be 3 or 4 at a max. That would work, because that could be 5, 7, 8, couldn't it? Yeah, I can't see why that wouldn't be allowed. Excuse me. Interesting. Ah, okay. So this 30 cage, so let's leave the 20 for now then. This 30 clue now must be from at least 5 cells, which we knew. But it must have a 9 on this side and a 1 on this side, because of the 1 and the 9 in their boxes. And in fact, I know there's a 1 there already. So in fact, that's the 1 in this column. And that's really powerful, because what that means is, like, now the 1 is all the way down here. I've already got 6 cells here, and the maximum I can use for this is 6 cells. So that must be the 9. There must be a 5 outside, because I know that the maximum this could have been was 35, so the missing digit is a 5. And I can kill off that clue. So that clue is done. These cannot be 1s or 9s, because we've got 1 9 in the box. We've got a 9 in one of these places. What else have we got going on? No, 1 is up here. That's not very helpful. We don't get... So normally sandwich Sudokus have clues on every row and column. We don't need as much information from that because of the non-consecutive constraint. They can give us far fewer clues outside. Okay. What am I missing? I feel like I'm missing something obvious. I mean... Ah! Okay, yes. I just put a cross in one of my 9s. In fact, there's a 9 there. What was I thinking? That can't be a 9. That could never have been a 9. There's a given 9 in this column. How foolish. So, we can come back to this clue now. It is a 3, 4, 6, which goes there. What did I say? 3, 4, 6. And then we have a 1 next to it. That is a cross. And then we can kill off this clue because we're done there. Ah, that's good. So 3, 4, 6. That rules this 6 out from this cell. So that is in fact a 5 and a 6. That 1 rules that 1 out there. So this is now a 9 and a 1. And in fact, that means... What does that mean? That means this must be from 4 cells and definitely have a 6. So it's not that. It's one of these 3 left behind. Interestingly, so I know there's an 8 there, so that in fact takes that out as well. That's a 6 by pencil markings. That completed the 14 clue from earlier, which is nice. Well, we know the 1 can't be next to the 9 here because this clue is not 0. And in fact, we know that that must be a 1, 5, 9 in that order. That sorts that out and kills off the clue. $16 doesn't work, does it? You can't make 16 off of 2, so... Well, actually, no, sorry, so that's... Okay, so I can put my last 9 in here, which is nice. So that's 3 cells, and then I've got a 1 left over. 16, presumably I can make that from 3 or 4, yes. Okay, so maybe I just need to do a little bit more work before we can determine where that 1 goes. So what are we saying about this 13? So this 13 is off of 3. So it is in fact 3, 4, 6. So I can kill off the clue, get rid of the cross and make that a 3, 4, 6 triple like that. That can't be a 6 because of the 6 in the box. That's in fact, must be a 6 because of the regular powers of Sudoku. 6 in here is limited to these 2 cells, which makes this a 6, which is nice. These 2 cells must include a 6. Limiting action on 5s. I just need something in this column which would determine which way round these 1s go. So I've got no help here, right? So the 1s could go anywhere there, and that's fine because there's no clue in either the rows or the columns relating to that from a sandwich perspective. But there is here. In fact, that is a 4, 7 pair. Can I do anything with this? I looked at this already, didn't I? Yeah. Surely this is helpful. It is, yes. Okay, so this is a 3, 5, 6 combo. So that's a 3, that's a 5. That gives us a 4, 6 pair here. which is nice. What are we missing from these cells? We're missing 2, 7, and 4. Weird order to say those in. That can't be a 2 because of the 2 in the row. That's 14 is done, isn't it? So what haven't I used? So I haven't used this or this. So you can see how useful it is to grey out the clues that you've done, because you just don't waste time looking at them. 8 is limited to one of 2 cells there and one of 2 cells there. It's actually given here. Okay, so this solves our 1, 9 quandary. And in fact, what that's done is basically every cell is now a cross or not a cross. So I can get rid of crosses. So if I click on the dustbin, it allows me to just clear all the crosses. Which you don't have to do, obviously. But I find it slightly easier to see the rest of the puzzle. And then what do we know? So we know that this is now a 3-cell clue. We don't know much more than that. We don't know much more than that about this one either. Okay. This 20 cannot contain a 5 because there's a 5 outside. This must be a 3, 4, 6, 7. So these are a 3, 4, 7 triple. And we can clear this clue off now because that's given us all it's going to. 4, 7 being used in this row already means that must be a 2. We've got a 2, 6 pair up top there. Wait. By this 2 and this 6. That leaves us a 3 in that box. And that gives us a 3 here, which sorts out our 5 pencil marks, which might give us the info we need here. So it can't have a 3 or a 6 in. Yes, so this is now a 2, 5, 8. And I can tick that clue as done. 2, 5, 8. 2, 5, 8. Just like that. That means that cannot be an 8, so that must be the 8. That's the other half of a 4, 7 pair. 2, 5, 8. That can't be a 5. That is 16. I do still need to use these clues. I'm sure that will be relevant soon. That's a 5. By the 5s looking at that box. That means one of these 2 is a 5. What about 6s? Any advance there? No, not really. 2s are limited to 2 spaces in that box, which means they're up there. In fact, what are these? These are 2, 4, and 7 to complete the column. That can't be a 7 and that can't be a 4. That means this box needs a 3 to finish the box. So there's a 3 in one of those 2 cells, which is nice. That gives us a 3 down here. This gives us a 4 and a 3, and another 3, and another 3. This gives us a 5. Okay, surely we're pretty much done now, right? This is a 2, 7 pair left to sort out somehow. This clue can no longer have a 3 because of the 3 outside the 1, 9. So this is now 2, 5, 7 or 2, 4, 8. Either way, it's got a 2. Could be that one there. And what about this? Must have a 3. So it is either 3, 5, 8 or 3, 6, 7. Either way, that can't be a 2, so that's useful to rule that out. So that's a 5 or an 8. So it must in fact be a 5, 8 pair. So that clue is done though, which is nice. 4, 6 in this box means that must be a 7. That must be a 7. That must therefore be a 7. 4s then get resolved across the way. That's 4 and 4. What else are we looking at? What else have we got going on? 9s and 1s are done. They were done ages ago. Don't look at those. Ah, 3's done as well. Didn't notice I'd used up my 3s. That's nice. 2 4s. Ah, I feel like I'm just clicking about the place. There must be something super obvious that I'm missing. Does it involve this? It's the last sandwich clue. Not really. Ah, okay, here's a super obvious thing I'm missing. That must be a 7. Ah, okay, which limits 7 in here, which gives us a 2. Yeah, that was quite a nice find, wasn't it? Right, so in this cell we now need a 7, so it's 2, 5, 7, and I can finally tick off the last of my sandwich clues. 2, 5, 7. So that can't be an 8. That's a 2, 5, 7. And now I need to start using my non-consecutive clues, I think, because that I kind of forgot this was a non-consecutive sandwich. The sandwich almost took care of itself, but that can't be a 5 because it's next to a 4. So that's a 2. That's a 2. Can't have 8 next to. Yeah, if I'd have remembered this was a non-consecutive Sudoku, I think I would have finished this one off long ago. But instead, I ponderously made my way through it as if it was just a regular sandwich. So my apologies for that. 8, 7, 2. What am I missing here? 4 and can't put 4 there, so that's 4 and 6 in that order. Yeah, wow. Yeah, this puzzle was very quick if you remember that you're actually dealing with a non-consecutive one, but I just completely forgot. That's an 8, and finally that's the 6. Wow, 30 minutes. Yeah, I think I took quite a bit longer on that puzzle than I should have done. I just kind of got stuck looking at it as a sandwich only. But yeah, right, there you go. Took a bit longer than I should have done, but that's fine. I hope you enjoyed the video. I enjoyed the puzzle, and I will see you next time. Cheers!